right. What's up, everybody? Welcome, everybody, to the channel. Welcome to my very first Twitch broadcast. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Brent Gill. I'm a stand-up comedian, and we are all in fucking quarantine right now. So I figured what better time to do a show called Comedians in Quarantine. I don't know, smoking chronic? I don't know. But we got a great show for tonight. Here's kind of how this works. It's kind of a long format conversation. I'm going to play some of my stand-up comedy here just a little bit. Then we're going to get Rachel Weeks, a good comedian friend of mine who lives out here in Los Angeles. She's going to Skype in, and we're going to talk about... a couple things. One, she got to shoot with the crew from The Bachelor. She got to teach The Bachelor how to do comedy. She is 1/3 of a comedy troupe called Pussy Brothers, and the three of them got to teach him how to do comedy for a segment on ABC. We're going to talk to her about that. She's also hugely into Magic the Gathering, as well as some other I like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. So we're really trying to embrace our nerd today on our first Twitch cast. If you guys like what I'm doing here, please feel free to follow me on Instagram or any of the platforms. It is just at I am Brent Gill right there. Also, feel free to throw some shit in the chat if you have some questions as we're going. You want me to ask Rachel? I tell you what. You can do that. That's what's so great about technology. Also, big thanks to my sponsors that sponsored this show along with my Boulder comedy show. Big Top Studios. Where is it? Pow. Big Top Studios. Terrapin Care Station. Pearl Street Dental. And, of course, Tommy Knucker Brewing and Pilsner Urquell. And big thanks to the Chiba Hut for this dope-ass swag. Swag. I always say swag because I smoke too much weed, and I'm like, swag, and it's, that's not what Chiba Hut would send. So we got some fun stuff. I hope everybody is handling the quarantine well. What are you guys up to during these quarantine times? You guys finding anything fun to do? You finding anything fun to watch? I know myself, I watched the very first episode of Pandemic on Netflix, right? And if you have not had a chance to watch Pandemic on Netflix, I highly recommend it, because if you want to find a way to piss yourself off before you go to bed, it's fucking Pandemic, because it is such a piss you off episode, right? Because basically what happens is they knew that a flu epidemic was coming. They released this show in January of this month. Of this month. Sorry, I went to a public school. Some kids get left behind. But they released this show this month, or this year, in January. Sorry, it's peaking a little bit there. And basically saying, hey, we're overdue for a flu epidemic. We are underprepared. We're fucked, right? And so if you want something that'll really piss you off, I tell you, just go in there and get yourself some Pandemic episode 1. It's gonna piss you off. It's gonna be the greatest. So I actually don't recommend it. I've been turning into like a full-fledged alcoholic. I start drinking when I wake up, because what is time? You know what I mean? Time doesn't matter. It's like we're like living in a Salvador Dali painting. Just clocks are melting around us. It doesn't matter. There's no better time to do hallucinogens and mind-expanding drugs than right now. Because what do you got to do tomorrow? Nothing but recover, you know? Welcome, new viewers. Thanks for hopping in the channel. Throw some shit in the chat. We got a fun show. I just can't wrap my head around not doing comedy for as many weeks and months that we are about to not be able to do comedy. So that's all right. What are you going to do? In the meantime, I have some live comedy, and I'd love to play some live comedy for you. I was just doing a tour down in the Southeast. I was in Birmingham, Huntsville, Atlanta, Pensacola, back into Birmingham, back into Huntsville, and then Nashville. And I got some clips from some of the shows that I was doing, and I'd like to show you a little clip here. This is from the show at the Highland Ballroom in Atlanta, Georgia, right downtown Atlanta. Fantastic little showroom. Fantastic show run by Joe Pettis down there. Really, really good comedy producer. So it's about a 10-minute, 12-minute clip here, so I hope you like it. This is not suitable for work, so make sure that if you are have a faint heart or little baby ears, you don't listen to this. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you in just a second.
Give it up for Brent Gill!
Okay, come on. Welcome to you. That's cool. I risked my life to be here today, all right? I flew Spirit fucking Airlines to be here, and you can't even clap me on stage. Fuck yeah! Motherfuckers. God damn it. I did fly Spirit here, and I swear, Spirit is the Medicaid of the sky. I didn't realize an airline can be shittier than Frontier, but here we are. It is. No, soon they're going to take food stamps for snacks on Spirit. You load the plane, they're like, you see a sticker, it's like, we accept EBT. You're like, damn, that's cool. Half of you laugh, the other half are like, I don't know what the fuck EBT is. That's alright, because you're paying for it, so. I'm feeling good, man. I finally recovered from these edibles I ate on Wednesday. And, man, yeah, I have a medical marijuana card for the nausea that I get from the Adderall that I'm prescribed. That's true. That is 100% true. And I recently learned this. So I live in Los Angeles, and we're allowed to buy 8,000 milligrams of edibles at one time. Hell yeah. Stage 4 stoner. Fuck yes! She asked me like, is that a lot? I don't know. If that's a fuck ton. Like, she told me 8,000 milligrams. Like, well, I didn't bring enough money. I bought 4,000 milligrams. Most people buy 100 milligrams and they eat 5, maybe 10, right? I ate 450 mils. Yo, the goal was 500. But I fell short because I was so high that the facial recognition feature on my phone stopped working. I feel like you're too high when a computer designed to grid your face looks back at you and goes, no. You're gonna need that passcode, playa. What happened to us, y'all? Remember we were smoking weed out of apples and aluminum foil pipes and shit like that? Weed-themed beer that smells like fucking cannabis. I don't know what's happening at Sweetwater, but I want to know that because they are fucking cool, dude. We have, like, remember back in the day, you were like smoking out of apples, aluminum foil pipes. You dig out of the trash can to find a little plastic bottle, right? You can jam a big pin into, duct tape an aluminum foil bowl on top. You're like, it's a bubbler. Your friend's like, yo, that's trash. What are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know, I'm in 8th grade. I don't fucking know. Now we have dabs. What the fuck, y'all? Dabs? If you don't know what a dab... Round of applause if you know what a dab is. That's way more than I thought. Wow. Middle of the house looks very confused. Chad, Brad, and Fat look very confused. Look at him! That's a Chad, Brad, and Fat right there. Dabs are what potheads did to turn weed into crack, and it's not. Mix with a little bit of heroin. It's not okay. Like, you take a blowtorch, like you put weed in a stainless steel extraction tube, and then you purge butane fuel over it. Fuel! Yeah. Or isopropyl, or CO2, or propane. I know what I'm talking about.
And out comes a super potent form of liquid hash called earwax. Yeah, that's right, you get quiet. And you're like, wait, how do you smoke liquid? With a blowtorch. Like fucking... Like, the sale of creme brulee torches since dabs came around has quadrupled, you know? Bed Bath & Beyond are like, why are these stoners in my fucking store buying creme brulee torches? You walk in a hoodie, like, aisle 13, in and out, let's go. You're scaring all the moms. The best, man. Why do we do it? Because it takes 6 minutes to get as high as it did in an hour of smoking weed. I don't care who you are, that's called time management right there. I just saved 54 minutes of my day. Fuck yeah. I'm gonna go utilize those 54 minutes napping for 6.5 hours. Only 34 years old, and I'm wearing a hat now. I've never worn a hat on stage till this year. I only wear a hat to make myself look 34, because when I take it off, I look like a stepdad on his night off, and that's not cool. The fuck is this? Like, I was getting my haircut recently, and the barber pulled the mirror behind my head, and I was like, oosh, don't do that. He's like, why, what's wrong? Like, the back of my head looks like a middle finger that's got blurred out on TV. Look at that, what the fuck? What the fuck happened there? What did I do in life where God was like, nah, dude, you can go fuck yourself. And I told him that, I was like, that looks like a middle finger. And he looks at it, he goes, nah, that looks like a dick and balls. I'm like, okay, why? Do you want a tip? Why would you say that to me? And I looked at it, I was like, put the mirror back there. I'm like, bro, if this is your dick and balls, go see a doctor, dude. This is not a healthy ball to dick ratio, okay? This is, you have Shetland nuts. Like a little leprechaun dick in the middle. This isn't. This looks like the stingray that killed Steve Irwin. That's what that. People think I have kids all the time because I look like this. I'm like, I don't have fucking kids. I fucking hate them. I hate kids. I hate kids so much I started calling condoms dream catchers. Just keeping those nightmares away, you know what I mean? I was reading this news story recently about a 24-year-old dude in the UK that got arrested for starting fights outside of a Home Depot. Totally naked. Totally naked. Cops get called, cops wrestle this guy to the ground, and they're arresting him, and while they're processing him, they realize that this naked dude is hiding 7.2 grams of cocaine under his foreskin. Hang on, time out. Hang on. First of all, how much foreskin do the British actually have over there? Right? Because that's like 5 skin at that point. That is so much. What's happening? Is it a weather thing? It's always overcast, or dicks are like, fuck this. I'm cold. I'm cold. What are we doing? What's happening? Look, I don't have foreskin, okay? I don't have that. So I'm having a hard time trying to wrap my head around this situation. I don't have that experience, but I do have a lot of experience with 7.2 grams of cocaine. And that's a fucking golf ball of cocaine, right? This dude's dick had a Major League Baseball dip in. That's how much cocaine was in the tip of his penis. And I'm reading this and I'm like, hold up, what is foreskin material made out of? Is it like chipmunk cheeks? Is that what it is? Is it chipmunk cheeks? Because I want that. I want that back. I want that back. I am so mad at my parents for taking that away from me. They stole that from me. My body, my choice. Leave your hands up. Okay, sorry. That's going to get me canceled in Georgia, which is hard. All I'm saying is I would have had so much fun growing up with my own little marsupial pouch up front. You know what I mean? shit in there as an adult. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't stop me from kid to adulthood. I'd be like, I go to the gym. I'm like, ooh, where am I gonna put these keys? All right. Oh, I'm ready. Let's go lift. I'm ready. It's leg day. Chad, Brad, Thad. Chad, you ready? Let's go do it. I was making out with my lady friend recently, and she stops me. Okay, why did you laugh at that part in the back? I heard you. I heard you. The fuck was I making out with my lady? No, you were not. I was making out with my lady friend, and she stops me, and she goes, hey, how do you feel about period sex? And I was like, Like antiquity? Or like Renaissance? Which period are you referring to? Man, I'm down to role play. I just need to know which costume to bring. I don't know if y'all can do dirty jokes. We'll try one more and see how it goes. I don't know. I don't do clean jokes. Clean jokes are hard. Like at one time I tried to write a clean joke and I was like, all right, here's an observation I had. You ever come so huge, right? So huge, to the point where you're like, yo, I gotta pull over and clean this shit up. This is... Get a ShamWow in the back or something, or like a squeegee. A couple months ago, I was doing a 4-day comedy festival, and all 4 days I was rooming with another comedian dude, right? If I had more time, I would ask what you thought was so funny about that. But I am limited on time right now, so we're gonna move on with this, and you and I can have a discussion later in my hotel room upstairs. So, 354? What is it? What is this room key that I have? 354! Who's partying tonight? Okay. So, I was rooming with this other comedian dude, and so all 4 days I had no me time. You know what I mean? Like none of that. And I don't like to masturbate standing up, so the shower was out of the option. Now, day 5, I go home, I'm hanging out with my lady friend, and she starts giving me an old-fashioned, right? I don't know why I did it, like she's jerking me off through prison bars or something. Like, pulling a fucking pinball machine. Ow! She starts giving me an old-fashioned, and she gets me to vinegar strokes. And I tell her, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come. And she stops immediately. And she goes, do you want me to blow you and finish you off?
Oh my god.
And I was like, no. And she goes, I'm sorry, what's that? I'm like, babe, it's been 4 days. Like, I'm a 2-time-a-day kind of guy. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. If I can squeeze in a lunch shift, I'm in. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm 2-time-a-day guy. Like, I got 8 built up in the chamber like the Spoontang clan. And I'm like, this isn't meant for your mouth. This is meant for art. This is meant for my stomach. I'm ready to Jackson Pollock my chest right now. You know what I mean? Now, ladies, I don't know if you know this, but dudes have control over the velocity of the first push, okay? So if you ever see your dude, like, just pulling his ass backwards, right, watch the fuck out. Because he's pulling it back like he's yanking back on a slingshot. Past where the bands are meant to stretch. Just, like, you know what happens to the ocean right before a tsunami? All the water's like, the animals are running for cover because they know some shit's about to go down. And I'm like, and I farted immediately. The problem is, I didn't have to fart. That's the problem. Had I known I had to fart, I would have been doing tricks with my orgasm, like some fucking hookah lounge vape king at a sex dungeon, blowing rings with my, like, what the fuck was I doing? And I don't know if you ever had the experience of farting mid-orgasm, but it's very difficult to finish when one half of the parties is giggling like a child. She's like, thank God I wasn't blowing you. I'm like, I know! left or when we break up. Okay, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Brent Gill.
That's me, everybody. Dude, I had so much fun in Atlanta telling jokes down there. I mean, both the Laughing Skull Lounge, the Highland Ballroom. It was so much fun. So that particular night, after that show, I went to. We were all getting drunk. I was drinking on Ron White's tequila. I don't know if y'all know this. Ron White has his own tequila. He has a brand, horrible name, I think. Some people love it. I hate it. Called Number One. It's called Number One Tequila. And again, bad name, great liquor, because, man, you drink his extra añejo, it is so good. There's none of that like tequila kick, if you will, where you like drink it and you're like, whew, there's none of that. It's unbelievable. So we were drinking that, and then we. I don't live in Atlanta. I live in Los Angeles now, originally from Denver. And so I was like, well, what do we do next for fun and for, a funny story? And we ended up going to the Claremont Lounge. Now, I don't know if y'all have ever been to the Claremont Lounge before, but it is it is Atlanta's best, but definitely the worst strip club in Atlanta. It is so fucking hilariously bad. So we walk in there, like their slogan for the Claremont Lounge is "Alive Since '65," and I'm pretty sure that it's the name of that because that's when their strippers were born. Like, these women were so old. Normally when you go to a strip club, you're worried. You're like, oh my God, that's someone's daughter. Well, at the Claremont Lounge, you're like, oh my God, that's someone's grandmother. Like that. I saw a chick there whose boobs were so big, they looked like they stunted her vertical growth. Like, and she was, when I walked in, she's giving this dude a lap dance, and she's just smacking him with these fucking 15-pound medicine balls. Like, these things were so big. And then you don't get a lap dance in a comfortable chair. You get a lap dance in, like, a conference room at a hotel ballroom chair. Like, one of those very uncomfortable, metal, just rigid chair, you know what I mean? And so you're just sitting there with good posture while, this 50-plus-year-old stripper is giving it her, I don't want to say giving it her all, because her all's been given. She's giving what she's got left. She's giving what she's willing to give at this point. And so she, so the lap dance itself is $30. And I had such a good time there because we were just drinking hard, and it was so funny that I wanted to buy some merch, like a little souvenir. So I bought a hoodie, and the hoodie was $40. And I told the dude, I was like, whoa. A lap dance is $30, but a hoodie is $40. Apparently that's the value that these women have for themselves, is less than a hoodie. So if you ever get a chance, I highly recommend heading out to the Claremont Lounge. It is a priceless experience. It's definitely one of those places that you want to let me delete that. Sorry. Definitely one of those fucking places that you got to go at least once. It don't have high expectations. It's basically, the Claremont Lounge in Atlanta is a dive bar with naked women. That's the best way to describe it. It's a dive bar. But again, because I know we just got a new viewer in here, scroll back if you have to, because they're not attractive. They are old and heavily tatted, and it feels like the tattoos are there to hide not only their emotional pain, but also their stretch marks. Like, it was, well, while we're talking about strip clubs, I will say this. I remember one time I went to a strip club with Dave Chappelle, and so we were working at the Denver Comedy Works, and after the show, he tells everyone we're going to this place called Shotgun Willie's, right? And this is in Denver, Colorado. And so we get to the club, and we kind of get ushered to a certain area, so not everybody can be around him because he's, as you know, Chappelle's kind of weird about his space. And so it's literally my buddy, me, Josh Blue, the guy that won Last Comic Standing, and then Dave Chappelle and a few people from his group, right? And I got a booger on my nose I gotta get out. Sorry. And Chappelle has all these ones, just a stack of ones, and he's just giving them out 10, 15 bucks at a time. And he's like, all right, everybody, on the count of 3, make it rain. And there's these 2 women dancing, and he counts to 3, and 8 people just throw $200 in the air. And I don't think it's possible for a stripper to strip harder, but it seems that that's what they did. They were clicking their heels so hard. I'm surprised a spark didn't fly off. It was so fucking funny to see that happen. And it was one of those memorable nights that you won't forget about. That's for sure. So anyway, that was a much better experience, quality-wise, than the Claremont Lounge. But I tell you, Atlanta, Georgia, if you can, go to the Claremont Lounge and for at least an hour. Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get Rachel on the horn here, and we're gonna talk to her about some fun stuff. Love Rachel to death, has kind of an interesting backstory there, so I'm excited to chat with her about that. If you haven't already, please follow me. I'm gonna start putting out these live streams, comedians in quarantine, for the next, pretty much every day every weekday that we're in quarantine, we're going to do a new episode here. So make sure you check us out and follow us there. So give us just a second. We're going to get her on the horn, and we'll get this rolling. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Be right back. Oh. All right, let's fade you in here. What's up, Rachel? Let me kill this music a little quick. Oh, yeah. Rachel, how are you, everybody? Or not everybody, you're you. Everybody's watching. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hang on one second.
Did I lose you already as soon as we brought you in?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry. I had the stream running and I had an echo of you. It was too much.
Oh yeah, no. It's gonna, you don't want to hear me twice. It's gonna be, that might drive someone crazy. That would be better than waterboarding, is just hearing me in double.
Yeah, you and then you behind about 1.5 seconds. Pretty good.
Exactly.
You're already a lot.
I am a bit overbearing. I just played some comedy from Atlanta, and I'm like, man, this I am filthy as a human being and a comedian.
I don't love that shit. What are you talking about?
So you dyed your hair red before the quarantine?
Yeah, the Saturday before we were all locked down.
Oh, really? So this would be
Yeah.
Saturday the 16th or the 14th? Because
It
Sunday
would've
would be
been
the 15th
No, I think it was the week
before that.
before that.
Okay. Are you going through some trials and tribulations? Why are you dyeing
My color of my hair?
Yeah, so every time, from my experience, which is minimal at best.
Your experience with hair or your
yeah.
experience
Okay.
tribulation?
Well, both of those are very minimal at best. My hair and women's hair. When you dye the hair red, it seems like you are going through a change. You are so my ex-girlfriend would always dye her hair red or brown after, and she's a blonde, after she broke up with a dude.
Sure.
And then, I guess those, and then I have another friend that does it as well. And then so after she called off her fiance, she didn't dye it. And I was like, wow, that must not have been a good relationship.
She doesn't feel like she needs a hair change.
It didn't seem like it, no. It didn't seem like
I
it
think
at
that
all.
maybe she was more committed to her hair than she was to the relationship. She's
"No,
like, I
it's in a good
finally
place."
got it right.
It's been in a good place. I'm not going to fuck around with it. Oh man.
No, I had no big moment. There was no breakup. There was no. I mean, maybe I guess I've been in LA a year. Is that
Okay.
a moment?
I mean, that is
But also
definitely
I'm
a
like
moment of trauma. Yeah.
I'm also going gray, which is sweet at 28. So
You got some
I have.
grays in there.
Oh yeah, they you can't see them now because they're all red. But like these, I was starting to get a rogue stripe. This rogue stripe. It was cool. Or
And you
like a
didn't want to
thing.
embrace it. You're like, no, it's not coming in.
I'm 28 in Hollywood. I can't be gray.
It might be a good look.
Someday. Maybe I'll like dye this all out gray and just do the full
Do a full Jay Leno.
comic book heroine.
Yeah.
Jay Leno is my style icon.
That's the one you want, right? Well,
Yeah.
that's more of a reverse Jay Leno because Jay Leno had all the color and then the middle was dark.
Oh yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah, well, he had like the like touch of gray, but like many touches, like lots of
A
touches.
lot of hands were in that one. Looks so natural. Actually, everyone can tell.
Yeah.
It's just from Angel. Boy, it's Here's what's funny about jingles is that how is that stuck in my head? Looks so natural. No one can tell. Just for men gel. And I don't fucking use just for men. I don't care. I'm definitely graying. Zero
Yeah.
fucks given. I have a touch of gray naturally. I got a little pepper and salt up in this bitch. And that's but these jingles, they stick in your head like O'Reilly.
Yep. I swear to
Auto
God,
parts.
and the people who write the lyric jingles are mad scientists. It's like the scientifically orchestrated pop songs that are like designed to shoot adrenaline through your brain, like to
What? No.
yeah. There's like certain chords and certain like progressions that are supposed to make you happy. It's just a natural human reaction to it.
Really?
That's why like so many pop songs are in the same key or have the same rhythm
Sound
because they're
exactly the
like
same.
literally
Interesting.
designed to manipulate you into being happy. That's why they're like universally loved.
It- too
Isn't
bad
that crazy?
too bad their artists aren't. Like too bad it doesn't make
Are
them
you
happy.
what are you talking? They're literally marketed specifically. Like
Wait,
pop
so
singers
so
are
like
so
people
orchestrated.
like Taylor Swift and
Yeah.
and so these songs you're saying are literally scientifically created, not out of art, but out of we know this is gonna
I mean,
latch
I'm
in their
not gonna
brain.
flat call that on every artist. I know Taylor Swift is for the most part her own songwriter, but a number of like these sort of box pop singers that are just like have one hit are designed specifically to look how you want her to look, to sound how you want her to sound, to make the sounds that make your body happy.
Whoa,
Like that's what pop music is.
whoa.
That's what a lot of like all we want is just the scientific like just the little shot of why can't
Adrenaline.
I was gonna say oxytocin. That's not it. What's
Oxycontin? Boy,
the
I'll take a shot of that.
what's
Stream
the
over.
happy one? The one that makes you happy.
Oh, endorphins.
Endorphins.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That one. I'm talking about this like I know anything. But that's like
It sounds like you do. I mean, it sounds like a pretty legit because that like that kind of reminds me of why country, like pop country, all kind of sounds the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
K-pop. You know, the Korean pop music, which I'm a huge fan of.
Sure.
God, I forget you can't see me, so you don't know what my face looked like when I said that. I forgot.
Well,
This is a
I can see you about 2 seconds,
2 seconds
behind.
later. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's perfect. That's perfect. No, but I guess that is true. Imagine being that person. Like if you had the opportunity right now, where in comedy even, someone was like, "Hey, we're gonna groom you to be this person," and then the likelihood of you having being a one-hit wonder is so much higher. Would you do it?
Yeah.
Would you really?
I mean, the amount of like the people who get into music and for that kind of career, that's like all like there's some people who are looking for longevity, but right now a lot of what music is just like just shoving one song down people's throats and it's like you see it all the time and people make careers out of it.
Interesting. So you think it's more? You think it's more? Sorry, I'm doing a little editing work right here.
Sure.
Do you think it's like this is the dream I wanted? I'm not selling out. I'm doing exactly what the
I
goal was,
mean,
and then I will take this career as far as I can take it, and then we'll pivot when we have to pivot.
right. I mean, I think a really interesting example of that is somebody like Miley Cyrus, right?
Good. Okay.
So
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus had like this very polished Disney career, right? So it's like very strictly orchestrated by Disney. You're allowed to do certain stuff, you're a certain content, and she had to figure out how to pivot out of this like very carefully calculated career into a
Oh.
longer term like career move, right? A longer term career. So now she does kind of whatever she wants, but that was after getting through this huge moment where she sort of exploded as this like crazy sex icon. But she had to push through this Disney persona that she had for so long,
Interesting.
right? That she was just like, all right, I'll twerk with what's his shit wearing with lips on my face and bears with, you know, giant asses or whatever it was.
It it reminds me. So when you were laying that out, you know what that reminded me of? Of when Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, and I don't think Mandy Moore was really part of that, but when they were breaking out of their show, especially Christina Aguilera, she went from, that teeny bopper kid
Yeah.
to, this sex icon. She looked like a whore for a while, and you're like, "Whoa, what's happening here?" And then
Yeah.
and then she came out on top, where Britney Spears did not. So they were almost groomed into
Well,
this.
that's a very hot take.
Is it? I mean,
Yeah.
Christina
I think that
Aguilera is
depending on
still
who you
doing
ask
shit.
still. Yeah, so is Britney.
No, she's not. What is Britney doing?
She
She's got
she
that
was in
Vegas
Vegas
show.
for
She's
like
got the
4 years.
that was for 4 years,
It was a very long time.
and that was on the Washed Up tour, right? Or the sorry. Who the fuck am
Yeah.
I to talk?
You watch your mouth.
Are you a Britney Spears fan?
I was a fan of both when I was younger, but I do think that like Christina was sort of mismanaged.
Wasn't she managed by her husband?
What? When she was a child? I mean, they like
Oh, by her
she
parents.
her yeah, when she was like 18.
Yeah, that no, I
Uh,
think okay. That's not a child. That's like
okay.
prime Christina Aguilera in my mind.
Yeah, it was when she was first coming out, but I really think that people were trying to cram her and Britney Spears into the same box. And they lived there sort of happily for a little while, but uh Christina's really got the pipes.
She
Britney
does.
has the
So someone in the chat was saying that she has a 3 to 4 year run in Vegas with a Planet Hollywood residency. I didn't
yeah.
realize that Britney was doing it for that long. So then
Oh yeah.
what has so then but I feel like that Christina handled the transition better. You know what I mean? Like I feel like because um Britney Spears came out fucking like she had to go to fucking
Right. She
rehab
had
and shit like
crazy
that.
year.
Yeah.
I think Christina Aguilera has had her own shit too. I mean, when you're a teen star, that's just like your life is just not what a life looks like. You have to figure out how to live in that space, you know?
Interesting. Huh.
I was actually
But that's what
supposed
we're
to go see Britney in Vegas and I had to cancel the trip.
why? Because of coronavirus.
No, it was a while ago. It was actually after Jordan died. It was that same weekend.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I can
Get dirty.
do a
Wait, no, that
trip
was
to
Christina
Vegas right
Aguilera.
after my friend died. Sorry, to bring down the street.
That's fine. We can talk about all of our dead friends if you want. Uh, have you met Britney's family? You'd be fucked up too. Um,
Yeah.
if you've seen her on every tour. Holy shit.
No, she's the best. Britney's so fun. Her Instagram is full lunacy. It's hilarious.
Really?
She just Googles pictures and will post them. Like, She was not caught, but kind of caught. She was caught Googling a picture of Mexican corn and just posting it on her Instagram and was like, Mexican corn.
That's it?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. There's one. I did a whole article about crazy posts from Britney. I don't know what they've looked like recently. I'll have to go back. But there was one that if you just Google water, it's the first thing. It's like the first thing that comes up. She was like, this one post.
She's like, I need content. She's from
Yeah.
the South, right?
She just kind of follows her whims, you know? She's like, you know what I really love? I really am calmed by water. This is a beautiful picture of water. Post.
Is she doing sorry, I'm just picturing her just Googling chickens. Here we go.
Yeah.
And then just posting a picture of a chicken.
If you Google, it's like Britney, if you like Britney Mexican corn, it'll come up. She's incredible. And
Well,
she's like very healthy and has a cool family and figured out how to make this lifestyle work for her. And she went through a really tough time and
it
still
seemed
has
like
a
a
ton of
real
people.
tough time.
Yeah. I'm super impressed by Britney Spears.
Wow. Well, in the chat room over here, that there's some people who are claiming that Britney's the greatest performer of our lifetime, and I'm like, I don't know. I've seen Michael Bolton live.
Yeah. Well, I cannot.
I'm ashamed to admit that the very first the very first concert I went to as a human was Michael Bolton. And my parents took me there. I was so fucking mad because my brother and my cousins, like a couple weeks or months before, went to the Allman Brothers band, and this was before now I forget. Dwayne Allman died. This is before Dwayne died, and
Okay.
and they wouldn't let me go because I was too young.
We're
Which
too young for
probably,
the Allman Brothers.
yeah, well, because there's a ton of weed floating around there and everything, and I was like
Sure.
13 or something, and I definitely would have tried to get high for sure. But so they got to go to that, and then I went to fucking Michael Bolton, and I was like, this is stupid. And I never
Who'd
really
you go with?
my parents, because I was
Both
like
your parents?
14 years old, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't want to pay for a babysitter. Let's go show them some classic
So
live
they
music.
paid for a Michael Bolton ticket?
Yes, it's so stupid. I don't get it. But yeah, and that was in Atlanta, Georgia.
Fun.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up? In
Well,
Colorado,
so,
right?
yeah, I grew up in Colorado for the most part, but I spent about 8 years in Atlanta
Okay.
when I was young. So probably I moved to Colorado at 13, and then because I was a military baby at first, right? So I
Yeah.
was born in Miami. Then my dad got transferred to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. And then I went to Georgia after his dad died, my grandfather. Because my mom wanted to be close to the whole family and all that stuff. So we were there for about 7 or 8 years before I moved back to Colorado. And I was in Colorado from 13 until I left at 32, 31, something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah. But I was never, I mean, I will admit, though, I definitely had, Colorado sucks. It sucks now. There's too many fucking people there. That's for sure. I definitely had a Britney Spears poster on my wall.
Yeah?
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't even have that.
That I
This
got.
is my. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I got it I asked for it for Christmas.
You little
I
perv.
asked for it for Christmas, and my mom got me one. It was the one where she's like standing on a back porch, and she's like got this short shirt on, and her jean shorts are like unbuttoned and rolled down a little bit. And I was like,
Oh,
God damn! And my mom bought me that, and I put it on my wall next to my bed. And I woke up to it was like, Britney Spears, you're hot.
That was such a look for a while. Just everything too small. Just short shirt, short shorts, short, like as low as possible. It was a full nightmare. Terrible time to be a young person, a young gal. This is my Britney Spears story. So I wanted to buy Oops, I Did It Again, which was like
Yep.
the Britney album.
Yep.
And my parents, who were not religious but were like pretty strict, um, my mom wanted to read the lyrics
Oh
before I
no.
listened to it.
Oh no.
So I bought the CD and she
Okay.
opened it and like pulled out the little like
The
sleeve
lyric book,
inside
right?
and read cover to cover the Britney Spears lyrics and then was like, I guess this is fine, and let me listen to it.
What?
Isn't it funny to be
Weird.
so strict about it that like you have to read it, but then read it and be like, nah, this is fine.
This is good. This is good. It's funny too because like it wasn't anything super bad, but boy, did
No.
it sound dirty sometimes.
I mean, some of it was like, yikes. But
Oops, I did it again.
but I do
made it
think
your
a lot
heart.
of like
Okay, that looks fine. That's
NSYNC
fine.
songs were dirtier.
Really?
There's literally an NSYNC song about like Skype sex.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, that's
It's
kind of like the
called
way to have sex now.
Digital Get Down.
It's called digital. It's got two digitals.
Digital Get Down. Just what we need.
Wow, the whole head wiggle too was pretty spot on there.
Ah. I was an NSYNC gal rather than Backstreet Boys, which is probably wrong. but-
NSYNC was Timberlake, right?
Yeah.
I don't hate you for that. I fucking love Justin Timberlake.
Iconic. Love
I
'em.
fucking love Justin Timberlake so
Speaking
much.
of like really impressive performers.
Right? He's funny. He's talented. He's a good singer. He's a good dancer. I mean, I remember those commercials he was doing for a while for like Oreo with like Peyton Manning. Like that shit was. He's like, why not? Fuck it. He's so funny.
He's all
kinda,
personality.
He kind of reminds me of like a John Mayer. How him and Chappelle, like when they get together, they're just super funny.
John Mayer and Dave Chappelle hang out?
Oh, all the time. You didn't know this? They like go. They did New Year's
That's
Eve.
very weird to me.
Really, dude? They did New Year's Eve on in Vegas, and it was just like them hanging out on stage, and they brought like guests in, and I think the Roots came in, and, and like they do shows together a bunch.
Okay, cool. That makes John Mayer cooler? I don't know. I was a big fan of John Mayer too, though.
Were you?
Yeah.
I didn't become a fan of his until because his music is very soft.
Yeah.
But once I saw him with the Grateful Dead and a couple times. It took me a couple times to see Dead and Co. To kind of like fully appreciate him because he is different, but he really absorbed it well. He absorbed that role well, and I think that he's such a goddamn good musician. And I
He's
just
a great
hate
guitarist.
I hate how good he is and how nice he is and how like women love him. Of course, I'm gonna hate that because women fucking love him. You know.
Yeah.
I have Britney spelled wrong in the status bar. Thank you, Mike McGinley. That's the wrong Britney. I appreciate that.
She spells it in a very 90s way, where there's
With
too
the
many
fucking
Y's and not
E?
enough vowels.
Britney, Ney. That's fucking stupid. I clearly wasn't that big of a fan, I guess. I don't even know how to spell
You weren't
her name
paying
correctly.
attention to how her name was spelled. It's about how her jeans were rolled.
I will never forget that. It's that is ingrained in my head for all of time. Thank you, Mike, for spelling Britney for me. Someone put Justin Timberlake in the same category as Elvis, Michael Jackson, and Prince. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
He needs more career time, probably.
yeah, I think there's still gonna be a third wave of JT. I feel like we've had two, like NSYNC well, maybe three. NSYNC early solo work, then
Late
like
solo work where he doesn't care anymore. Yeah. Like
Mirrors was really
2020,
big.
like the
Like
album he did with Timberlake. That
yeah,
was to me. Or,
when he
I'm
was all
sorry,
on like all the
Timberland.
SNL stuff, and then all
Yeah.
his most recent album, and I think there's going to be another sort of phase of him,
Interesting.
and we'll see what that looks like. He'll be back.
What kind of
But right
music do
now
you?
he's riding that last wave of money.
As
Just
you should. What do you think he'll change to? Like, do you think he'll change to,
I think
like,
he'll do some kind of broody singer-songwriter or something. He'll get there.
fuck, there's only one T in this? God damn it, I can't spell this chick's name right. Fuck.
Brit anyway.
Yeah. Who has
Yeah.
one T? She's got low T. She
Brittany's
needs to
like
get on
Lindsay,
Nutrigenics.
where you're like, I don't know. It could be any number of Y's, A's, E's, or I's.
Oh, fuck. Now, I kind of feel like Britney and it's interesting that you said that at the top of the show, because now I think of who's that Canadian kid? Justin Bieber. You look at Miley, you look at Britney, Aguilera, Mandy Moore. All those artists were put in the same kind of box almost.
Sure.
Interesting.
Fame.
Yeah, I guess. But it's
Or
all because of how
thrust
they
into-
look. Why can't I?
Yeah.
I mean, I look cool as fuck right now. Hoodie, huge beard that I'm fucking. It's not huge. It's very reasonable right now. It's just. It's very gross. I don't know what to do with it, but I'm trying to like grow. Like, you know, in baseball where they don't shave during the playoffs, right?
Yeah. And then they
well-
shave it all so they run faster during the big game. Baseball, right?
Baseball. Yeah, that's right. I feel like I'm doing like a quarantine beard just to see how long I can get it. This is the longest my beard's ever been. It's very gross. It's very itchy. I have to put balm in it all the time.
Balm is good. I'm glad you're balming. Balming.
I'm balming, baby.
You're balmed.
That's a good point. They said how many of these people still matter from the 90s, and you're right. So I guess that is the you know.
Short list.
Well, that are.
I
still,
mean, it depends on what you mean
goes,
by matter.
Well, it just goes to show that Britney really is a bigger name than I am giving her credit for. You know, because we still.
Ozone, oh no. I did have a 98 Degrees CD though.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
That was Nick Lachey's band, right?
Yes, I think so.
Nick Lachey, he married what, Mandy Moore, right? Or Jessica
least.
Simpson, Mandy, yeah.
There's a whole series of I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to who they were married to. When
I
you're
know
like,
who
I was
married
like
the love
11,
of my life.
like pretty young.
Were
Come
you?
on. Yeah. I was born in 91.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had the internet when you were growing up.
Yeah. We had a computer room.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember that computer room. It sucked trying to masturbate in there. You know, everyone was always in the room with me.
Oh yeah, ours was
Anyway.
in the dining room. It would not have been easy. You would have had to cover some windows. You would have had to make sure that...
They did that on purpose.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I had a computer in my room when I was older, but it wasn't connected to the internet.
Really?
Yeah.
I had one in my room too, and it got taken away from me immediately when my mom came in, and I was in like a chat room with probably some old man, probably.
Yep.
But but basically having cyber sex at like 13, 12, something like that.
With an old man?
Probably with an old man. I mean, I thought it was another like-minded 13-year-old girl.
Yeah.
But what do you want to do? Oh, boy. Those bring back some creepy memories. Go watch Love is Blind on Netflix. He's hosting it with his wife. Nick Lachey. Oh, but Nick Lachey remarried, though. I did know that because I saw that whole documentary thing on Jess Simpson. Anyway, let me move this Britney Spears thing down here. All right, Britney Spears, we talked about it. Let's talk about some other things in your life. First off, because we were talking, because and I wanted to say this a bit earlier, because you listened to Britney Spears. Your mom read the lyrics you before you could listen to it.
Yeah.
And you had a pretty conservative upbringing, correct?
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely certain things that we weren't allowed to listen to. It's funny because everybody assumes that means that we were religious, but we weren't super religious. It was mostly that my parents were pretty careful about what we watched. There was a limit on violence mostly.
Interesting.
I wasn't allowed to see PG-13 until I was 13. I wasn't allowed to see R movies. I was allowed to see some R movies after that.
Like which
but
ones?
Like I had the first R-rated movie I ever saw was Dick.
Really? The MTV movie?
Isn't that funny?
Wow.
Like
Reese Witherspoon and Lisa Kudrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. That was the first one I ever saw, and I was like, this will be a formative film about the Richard Nixon's dog walkers.
Wow. That's what it was about, really?
Yeah.
I remember
they
first
helped discover Watergate somehow.
Oh, I remember this now. I remember
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, it's real fun.
I remember that my first R-rated movie that I saw was it started with Broken Arrow. It was like an action flick with Kirk Douglas or Michael Douglas, and then it was Starship Troopers.
Okay.
You remember Starship Troopers?
I do.
I do too, and I remember I'll never forget this. It was the first time seeing naked women in front of my dad, and
and
my
now
mom,
it happens all the time.
Right, right. My mom is very like when nakedness or nudity came on during like family movie night, she would go put up like a fucking blanket in front of the TV, as if I couldn't just fucking go watch it later that night, which is what I did with He Got Game. But
you just rewound.
Yeah, I got the DVD out and watched that scene where he has the threesome in the dorm room, and I was like, this has made some major influences on my young little brain. That this is a possibility.
I have a specific memory of watching 16 Candles with my family. And my parents were like, this is fine. It's a high school movie. And then there's that like quick cut where they cut to women in the shower.
Oh.
You know what I mean? They're like in a scene and then they cut immediately to a pair of tits. And it even makes like the like 80s like bang sound. And my parents were like, oh! Like,
you're like, Mom, I have them. It's fine.
my brother was with me.
Oh, right.
My brother's 2 years younger than me.
Oh, God. No. Watch out.
Cover his eyes. They're so young and pointy.
It was Starship Troopers, and then it was also the other scene was the scene from the Titanic I saw with my dad.
Okay.
And I was like, what? But that was in the movie theater, so you couldn't do much about it then. But it was I remember one time my mom sent me out of the theater. She's like, go get him some, or go get some snacks or some popcorn or something. Here's some money. And my mom would never let me buy shit at the fucking movie theater. And she's like, here, just go buy something. And I was like, and then I just stood in the like in the wings and watched it. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, there you go. You can't throw me out. You paid for this.
Right? Yeah. Ma, you know how much you hate to waste money. It was pretty weird seeing R-rated movies. So you grew up conservatively-ish. Your parents cared and that's great. You had a good upbringing. And then you went to college in Iowa?
Yeah. I went to Drake University in Des Moines.
Drake. And that's, what is that, a Christian school?
No, it's like a little liberal arts school.
That sounds like you. Okay.
Very
So what did you study there? Because you were in. So here's what's fascinating to me is you go from where your mom is reading the lyrics to Britney Spears, to being in a sorority
Yeah.
and cheerleading and like that. I'm just like, what
I
the
wasn't
fuck?
a cheerleader.
You weren't a cheerleader?
No. I have very little acrobatic ability. But I was in the sorority, which was a bit of a hard left turn because I was sort of self-imposed religious in high school, where I was friends with religious people, and I was like, well, this is how a person is supposed to be. So I was religious in high school, and then I went to college and kind of wanted to do something different. I was definitely like, I knew I was going to drink. I knew I was going to, like, I wanted to have a fun time. And my grandmother was actually Greek at my school, so I was a legacy.
Really?
Yeah. So I ended up rushing because she was like, I wrote you a recommendation. And a number of my
So
friends.
you had to. You had no choice.
Yeah, so I already had a recommendation, and a number of my friends rushed. Because it's a small liberal arts school, a lot, the percentage of people who are Greek was actually pretty high. It was like 36% or something of the population was Greek.
Whoa.
It was pretty high. And it wasn't, there were like 5 sororities and something like 12 fraternities.
God damn. So that's a small school. Because, like, CU had, like, a fucking 100 of each.
Yeah. It was a pretty small Greek system, and it was definitely a small school. It was comparable to the size of my high school, actually.
Wow. So you felt
'Cause
comfortable.
I went to a pretty big high school, and I wanted to go somewhere that not a lot of people from my high school were going to go.
Fair.
And that was, I actually went, one of my closest friends in high school actually went to my college. So, and she ended up joining the same sorority. I was a Delta Gamma.
I just, knowing you now, I can't visualize you in a sorority or as a sorority girl. Because sorority girls to me are the, oh my God, Sarah, let's go drink some White Claws. That's what I always feel like.
Sure. It definitely had its like moments that were like that. There's like, we do, like when they do movies about sororities, there are parts that are absolutely real. Like you sing during recruitment. We would sing to the girls going through recruitment, and
really?
you like all dress the same, and you have rituals, and you have like you vote on the girls who come into the as freshmen and as sophomores. There's some really kind of icky parts to it for sure. But I really liked that I had like this system of people that I knew, especially at a small school, that you're like, I better than a lot of other freshmen, I knew seniors and juniors and sophomores and freshmen. I knew what professors to take. I knew like, I had ins at a lot of places. When we were out at bars or whatever, we would have not protection, but like I knew a bunch of people there.
Gang shit.
They were like, if somebody was too drunk or something was bad, or if there was like, honestly, if the police showed up, then we had a way to get out, or we had at least like a system to get to trade information. So there definitely some positive parts to it for me, but it definitely had some stuff that you were like, not great.
So Drake was what, like 5,000 people?
Yeah. With I think our undergrad is like 3,600.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Wow. I think CU was like 50 something thousand or something.
Yeah, a lot of
it's
state
fucking
schools
nuts.
are bigger.
Interesting.
I was mostly looking at liberal arts type of stuff.
What did you study?
I was in magazine journalism and graphic design.
I like how you smiled during the first one. You're like, well, that job's not around anymore.
Which is, famously still a job.
So you did that, and you did graphic design, which you still use that skill.
Yeah.
Now, at what point did you decide that you wanted to try comedy? Because, like, with me, I started comedy when I was in high school, and then
Right.
I continued to do it throughout college. I don't foresee a sorority girl kind of doing that, but maybe I'm wrong. Is that when you started?
I did my first stand-up set. I was a junior.
Okay.
Um,
college.
so I did my first set. I was a junior in college, so I was 20. I think I just turned 21.
Okay.
And it was for a class. We had so at that point, all right. I got super sick. I got mono, like in a terrible way.
Yeah, you were kissing
And
all
I
those
was bedridden
boys
for uh,
with that
for a
red
really
hair.
long time. And I couldn't even keep my eyes open to watch anything. So I listened to a ton of stand up, like a ton. And I got into it so much I started listening to it at work. I swear I stopped listening to music for like a year.
Wow.
And that was my sophomore year. My junior year, we did a story that we were supposed to do something that takes us outside of our comfort zone and then write a first person experience on it. And I pitched a number of different things. One of them was doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And I did it twice for that story at open mics in Des Moines. And I'm sure I have the tape. It's a nightmare.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Boy, if that's online, I want to see that. I still have footage
is
from
online,
my
but I definitely hid it.
early sets.
I have a tape of the first one because I needed a video component to the story. Otherwise, there's no way I would have taped it. Absolutely not. I told nobody because I was really worried that if I was like, I'm going to go do stand up, that my whole sorority would show up to see me do stand up for the first time.
Interesting.
Right? Because I don't no. Can you imagine if you were just at a regular open mic and 25 20-year-old white girls
that
rolled
sounds
in,
fucking amazing.
One of them did stand up.
God, that sounds fucking great in the worst way. It's like a fucking a bachelorette party just rolling in. No, Rachel's gonna do comedy tonight.
Yeah, it would have been that. And people were like, I wish you would have told me. And I was like, no. I brought 2 friends, and even that was crazy. Because I wasn't going to go by myself. Pardon?
Why was that crazy?
I mean, there was 3. I was the only woman who performed at that mic. There was no women that were doing stand-up in Des Moines.
Comedy in Des Moines,
and
baby.
I brought 3 young ladies in, and I told this story a number of times, and I know he's very embarrassed now, but it was at my second open mic ever. So the second one I did for this story, I told this terrible joke about how it's really cool that technology has advanced so far that I can expand my business, my professional connections while sitting on the toilet. I think specifically the words was with a turd hanging out of my asshole is what I said.
That's some new female comic shit right there.
Oh yeah, just gross them out. Yeah, just gross them out.
That's what the boys are doing, so I guess that's what I'm gonna do too.
Yeah, well, I told that joke, and that was my opening joke for 4 months.
Oh my god!
Opening, just here we go.
Oh man, let's just crack this can open right now.
So I did that joke, and then after my set, one of the guys at the mic who I now know, and I did comedy with for almost 2 years, but he came up to me and he slid me a piece of paper and he said, "These are some tips," which now I know that's not a thing that people do. But at the time, you were like, maybe this is the thing that people do.
And was this guy trying to help?
No. I opened it, and the note said, "Poop jokes? ? way to give us all boners.
Ew. Oh,
Yep.
God. That's not where I thought this story was going to go.
Nope. And then I
That's
didn't
like-
do stand-up for about a year.
I don't blame you. Good Lord. Oh, God.
And then I started after I graduated. I spent almost 2 years in Des Moines after I graduated, working like an extension on my internship. And I did stand up and I did improv and I did a sketch writing class and a bunch of stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
Then I moved to Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah.
And does that comic still do comedy?
No, I don't think so.
They probably
If
should.
he does, I haven't seen him around in their pictures.
He's either doing comedy or serving time for...
We're being a big creep.
Setting up toilet cams like fucking Chuck Berry.
Oh my God. It was so, and I've told this story a number of times because it just perfectly illustrates like what a nightmare it is to start doing comedy as a young girl.
Oh,
I
God.
was 21, like, which is pretty young for a lot of women. Like,
Yeah.
women usually start mid-20s or later.
Right.
21 is like quite young for a woman to start.
And it kind of
then-
ruins you.
Second mic to be like so thoroughly grossed out.
Oh, God. Poop jokes? Nice.
Nice.
I got a video for you. It's called Two Girls, One Cup. Check it out. Oh, God. Okay. So then you started. So that's how you kind of got into it. It's funny that you didn't do it on a bet, but you did do it for like a class. That's how I started. I had an independent study, and I was like, I want to look into comedy, and they're like, cool, and that's how you got into it. So that
I never
was how.
got on stage, but it was a homework assignment.
That's better than it. Well, everyone at work says I'm so funny, so I feel like I should just go out and do it this way.
Yeah, no one tells me I'm funny. That has never happened. People are like, you're so funny. You should try stand up. That's never happened to me.
Oh my God, Rachel, start comedy. So when did you move to Colorado? Was that right? I was like, so you got back into it junior year of college? Or no, sorry, senior year of college.
And then as soon as I graduated, I started
Got back into
going
it.
twice a week. Yeah.
Okay. And then
Because
you
there was
moved to
only
Denver.
2 mics in Des Moines.
Gotcha. And then you moved to Denver.
I moved to Denver after about a year and a half.
Okay.
And then when I started in Denver, everyone is like, who is this brand new girl who just knows how to do stand up already? And it was great because everybody thought I was like just this savant. And I was like, no, I did a year and a half of stand up.
I did a year and a half stint in fucking Iowa.
In Des Moines. Which Des Moines is a great place to do stand up. It's the perfect place because you can do so much time and just nobody gives a shit. Like nobody listens and nobody judges you. And it's like I got booked on a ton because there was 3 women in the scene. Like I was on 1/3 of the comedy shows in Des Moines.
Wow.
Yeah.
What if you're
Did a lot of stage time.
now you've been doing this for a while now, and you started with comedy. So you were going down the route. You were doing sorority stuff. You were doing Britney Spears impressions on the street, and now and so you kind of made this shift into this, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. What's it like being a girl in kind of a dude-oriented world?
It's for the most part it's great and it's fine and everybody's really wonderful. And the thing is like the stuff that's hardest about it isn't the stuff that you expect it's gonna be. Like you're ready for guys to say gross stuff and for them people to be like do you wanna write together? And like
that's my favorite line because I don't use it ever, but then
It's
like anytime I hear that I'm like, just ask her to fuck. What is wrong with you?
like either ask me out or That's it. Like, I don't need this sneaky professional date.
A
Why?
sneaky date.
I don't want to go on a sneaky date. So now if there's even like a hint of date, I'll be like, is that a date in your mind? And
Oh, you
then,
just straight call them out, and then they get
oh
super
yeah,
awkward, probably.
yeah, I
Like,
did
oh,
it
well,
once.
no, it's strictly professional.
Yeah.
I just, you have a funny brain. I want to pick at it. Fuck. Uh,
So that's the hardest thing though, is like figuring out if this person's a bud or if this person is hitting on you, or like, it's because your relationships are always going to be more difficult because all these dudes are super close and they're like best friends, and if you date anybody or if like you make a wrong step, you'll be out so fast. Like
it
my
seems like
friendship,
it's not fair.
it's not. Well,
It seems like it's very unfair. Boy, you're like, wow, Brent, what a revelation you're having on this fucking
yeah,
channel.
like
Um,
I am really careful about who I date because if it ends badly, I lose friends. Right? Like I lose all my connections. It's weird for me to go to shows. It's weird for me to show up. And they're fine because that relationship has priority. So you know that like, so I have to be very careful about what I do, like what kind of relationships I build and how I present myself, because it can really mess up my professional life. It can mess up my personal life. Like I could just lose 5 friends just immediately.
Interesting. Have you ever lost work because of relationships?
Lost work?
Yeah, like
No.
didn't get
I
shows or anything?
People are definitely, so when people know who your ex is, they'll be like, "Is that going to be weird?" And you're
Yeah,
like, uh,
I think I've asked you that before.
"Yeah, that question gets asked a lot." And sometimes it is.
That's why you don't date comics. That's
I
fucking
really
point
try
in
not
case.
to. Yeah. I do
It's
I do
never
try
been
not
good for
to,
me either.
just because it's so messy. It's so
Right.
messy, and like unless I actually like absolutely think it could be worth it long term, I'm not gonna no we're not gonna start pushing buttons, you know?
Are you
Like
consciously
stand-up is too
making
important to me for me to like throw it away on a hookup or like a fling or something.
stand up is way more important? Right, right. Which is
Yeah.
good. It should. This should. I mean, you got to be fucking committed to this. Now, is this like a conscious choice of yours? Like in terms of like, because you're also into kind of like nerd shit too. Magic the
Yeah, I'm
Gathering,
in a
Dungeons
nerd
and
world.
Dragons. Have you just always been this way, or did you make conscious efforts because you found this interesting as an adult, or have you been into to this stuff since you were like a kid and then you hit it when you were a sorority? Because I can only imagine there weren't a lot of sorority sisters that like, oh my God, Rachel, D&D night Tuesday.
Yeah, no.
I
Uh,
feel like that wasn't a thing y'all did.
so you definitely hit it on the head where I was like, I grew up with my brother. My brother's 2 years younger than me, and we had a lot of the same likes. I was into Pokemon for a very long time. I played Yu-Gi-Oh for a very long time. I would like learn to draw using anime. Like I read
Wow.
manga and comic books. I was into superheroes. And then you turn 14 as a girl, and none of your friends are into that shit. And you try to like be like, "Hey Taylor, have you heard of Beyblade?" And she hasn't, and she hates it, so you never bring it up again.
Okay, so first of all, who got you into it? Was it you getting your brother into it, or was your brother getting you into it, or did your parents just be like, "Hey, you're both gonna be into this. We don't want to
It
buy
was
two
my
things."
cousins, actually. I have a cousin.
Really?
Yeah, so my brother and I are very close with cousins on my mom's side. Where one of the cousins is a year younger than me, and then one is a year older than me. One is a year younger than me, and then my brother is a year younger than her. So we were all 1 year apart in a 4-year block. And
Interesting.
they were super nerdy and were like, "You'll really like this." So they taught us, like, we got everything from them for the most part. And then once I got older, I had to figure out which part of that is like okay to have in public and what my friends like, and kind of meld into whatever that is in order to maintain friendships.
Mm.
Otherwise, like because you're 14, right? You're not hanging out with a big group of guys. Like,
Because you have cooties.
yeah, like there was none of my friends that were into that at all, except for my neighbors who eventually ended up going to a different school. So I had learned to hide it for years, where I was just like, it wasn't a part of my life anymore. Where I was like, I stopped reading fantasy novels. I stopped, like, card games, gone. I skipped any transition, like, into more complicated board games or anything like that. And I didn't really find it until I started comedy and started hanging out with these stupid dudes.
We're the worst. We're the fucking worst. So that's what kind of brought it back out, was hanging with dudes. So you have more fun with dudes than you do with chicks.
I've had very close female friendships my entire life, and I love them to pieces, and we connect over different things. But for the most part, like, a lot of my hobbies align with the men in my life.
Gotcha.
But I have very close and very important female friendships to me.
What is it about these games that really draws you? Like Magic the Gathering. You're big into Magic.
Yeah.
I remember Magic when we were in middle school, and I thought it was weird then.
Yep.
I think it's weird now.
Yep.
And then when you told me that some people have decks that are $30,000-$40,000 in it, I'm like, what is this game you're playing? Why aren't you in the stock market? This shit, these fucking fake cards for a fictitious game that was made up by a bunch of nerds is like currency.
Yeah.
It's like you got a little plot, like a piece of gold in front of you. Like,
Yeah. He prints,
what is
Richard
this
Garfield
game?
prints money. I mean,
What the fuck?
So trading card games have always been a huge thing. I mean, were you into baseball cards and like
Yes.
baseball cards? Yeah,
And X-Men shit and all that stuff.
sure. And you collected them just to have them?
I did, and then I was like, I don't get this. Like, I did the
Sure.
Pogs thing as well.
Yeah.
I did Pogs, X-Men cards. I'll never forget this. I lost a friend one day and like I didn't realize it, but at the time, but I did now. That he goes, hey, you wanna, we're in the back of the bus. He's like, hey, do you wanna come over and trade X-Men cards? And I'm like, nah, I gave all those up. I'm doing baseball cards now. And he goes, oh, okay. And then we never hung out again.
Yeah.
Like, I feel, because I felt like I was a nerd with the X-Men cards because my brother was doing baseball cards and my cousin was doing baseball cards. So I'm like, all right, I guess that's what we got to do. And then I just didn't.
So much, like, so many people throw their hobbies away because they're like so worried about what it looks like. Like, I'm not saying you should get into X-Men cards now, but like, I think you're like, the reason that I didn't do the things that I liked, or that I just gave away this thing that I liked, was because I was like, well, this is weird and nobody else does it. But like, it made me happy. And as soon as I started to introduce it back into my life, it's like a fun, creative space that like I like to live in. I like fantasy novels, and I like I've read all of Game of Thrones. I read all of Lord of the Rings. I'm reading Discworld now. And it's fun to do that. I like sci-fi, but I guess what I like about games like Magic is I like the competitiveness of it. I like that it's silly and that you can do it's sort of big brain stuff.
How does it work? Like, what's the general concept of the game?
Okay. So Magic is like any normal card deck. So like you can play any number of games with a regular 52 card like deck of cards, right? You could play Run, you could play like poker, you play war, you could play a number of different games with it. So
with Magic cards.
Magic's the same way. Where there's a number of different formats that have like the same core, but the goals might be slightly different, or the cards that you can use are slightly different, because there's tens of thousands of Magic cards now. They've been printing them since the mid 90s.
And they're coming up with new ones
all the time.
So the ones getting printed now are new, and the ones that you bought when you were a kid, those are like, those characters are just old and retired now, but they still work
Some of
if you have them.
Some of them. So like there's formats that you can play strictly recent cards. There's formats that you can play all the cards in the game. And then there's usually ban lists for each format. So like this card is too powerful for this format. It's not fun. So that you cannot play that in certain formats. But in general, the rule is you and your opponent are both planeswalkers, which is sort of all-powerful transporting beings, and you're trying to defeat your opponent with summoned spells, creatures, and artifacts and different things.
And each card carries its own weight or its own spell or its own whatever.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's different kinds of cards where there's land cards that are essentially like Monopoly money, where like you need a certain number of land cards to cast certain level spells. So at the beginning, you can only cast low level spells because you only have one land. And then your next turn, you'll play another land and you can cast a slightly higher level. And then you're racing to get your opponent from whatever their life total is to 0.
Okay. By casting spells that hurt them.
Sometimes, yeah.
And do you take their cards, like when you're winning, like if you beat them, do you get their cards, like do you get to keep their cards, or how does that, like are you literally gambling with cards?
That used to be a part of the game, but it is not anymore. All of that
Because
is
people were losing expensive ass cards.
yeah. It's not fun. And sometimes you just lose. Like sometimes your deck doesn't want to play and you just lose. You don't have to lose a $400 card because you just lost that one.
Okay, now what makes a card $400 and another card $30?
It's a combination of things. The one that's the highest is availability. So generally, the older the card is, the more expensive it's going to be on average. Just because there's fewer of the older cards, the print runs might have been smaller. There are certain sets that were printed a little less than others, so those cards are more expensive now. Right? It's like and then also power level. The more power, like if there's a higher demand, the card is more expensive. So if they printed it into like a low number of times, but everybody wants to play it, that's an expensive card.
All right, let me ask you this: who is they? Who is printing these cards? Who created this? Who's making the money off of these fucking? Because they've got you all conned. Is what is what it sounds like.
Yes.
So I'm right. So that's absolutely true.
Like it's a collecting addiction thing, right? It's the same as you collecting everything. You're never gonna collect them all. They're not gonna let you have it. There's always gonna be another more powerful card. There's always gonna be another more powerful deck, but it's pretty sweet. And you can play at budget levels, and you can play at different. You can set your own boundaries with the game, but it is very much expensive and time consuming, and there's a lot going to it.
So again, I mean, is there a like
Money. So a number of different people. There's Wizards of the Coast, which created who owns the game and prints the new
That's what someone's
set.
saying here in the chat. Okay.
Yeah. So that's
Well, I guess they're saying it in my text message chat, but whatever.
that's Wizards is like, or WotC is what we call them, Wizards of the Coast, and they print the new cards and they print like everything that's new that's coming out for Magic is through Wizards.
And they the ones conceptually creating these characters?
Yeah, they own all the rights. They own all the new cards.
They created the game Magic the Gathering.
Yes, I mean Richard Garfield created the game, but the Wizards owns it now. Yeah.
Interesting.
And
so who are these wizards?
The only one making money in this game, because there's local game stores across the country that sell cards that have already been printed, and they resell them as singles, or they sell sealed product, or they host events and tournaments. And Friday Night Magic is a weekly Magic thing that happens at every LGS across the country.
Really?
Yeah.
What does LGS mean?
Local game store.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Nerd slang. Nerd slang.
A lot of YM old coworkers play. Oh, okay, gotcha. I don't know what YM old coworkers are though. But
Spelled wrong.
oh. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, I don't know this acronym. So Wizards of the Coast bought the rights from George R.R. Tolkien, or
Yep.
whoever, whatever his name was. They bought the rights
Nerd
from
king,
them,
and he did everything.
and so they are the ones now that and so they're just constantly trying to think of what are new characters, what are new things that these characters can do. Have they realized the amount of money that's possible with this and are making characters less powerful so you keep wanting to buy more?
They're making them more powerful, so you want to buy more.
Oh.
So in
Oh.
any printed card game, there is inevitable power creep, right? So you start at one power level, and then you want to beat those cards just a little bit, so people have to buy the next version, or like a prettier frame, or a foil, or like this one has extended art, or this one is like a showcase edition.
Right.
You just want the one that's 50 cents more, that's $1 more, that's $115 more, even if it's the same as another card.
What the fuck? And that's just to show really all you. So this, it sounds like Magic the Gathering nerds are just like my car nerds. Like
Yeah.
we're just we're showing off our 1976 BMW 2002 or TII, and we're just like, oh yeah, and then we're all just jerking off each other's cars. And that's basically what are happening with you guys. Like, oh, look at my foil print of the mystic mobster of Never Neverland. Or
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. You're showing off. You're like, look how pretty my deck is, look how creative it is, look how powerful it is. You're competing against your friends. And like even in a play group, you build a deck that's like, that tries to beat your friend's deck, and then your friend has to build a deck that beats your new powerful deck.
So of your hundreds of cards, you pick 52 to play with that day for that hand.
So I have a number of different decks. I play multiplayer Magic. So I play Commander, which is 100 card singleton. So I play with 100 cards, and I can only have one of each card in it. But I have like 8 decks right now. So I have like 800 cards that I play with.
Jesus Christ.
But I have thousands of cards I do not play with that are just sitting in boxes.
And those are ones that you bought in like a pack, and then you're like, all right, these are useless, but 3 of these are great. I'm gonna keep these. And then okay, so you buy multiple decks to assemble the decks you want to play with.
So because I play, I don't play a something like Standard that's more recent and rotates, so I have to keep updating my decks. I usually will build a deck online and then purchase the cards I need for it. I try and buy less sealed product, or less like boxes of booster packs, because it gets very expensive, and most of the time you're not going to get what you want out of it.
Gotcha.
So like booster packs are gambling, right? You pay $3 for something that might be worth 30, or it might be worth 45 cents.
What?
It's gambling.
These guys are genius.
They are.
These guys are wizards.
And they know it.
Wow. Okay. So you get these. So you choose these cards. Now, are you shuffling the cards to where it's like you have no control over which card you pull when you pull it? Or is it like, all right, you have 100 cards. You know what cards are in there, and you're like, oh, right now I need this card down here, and you'll go search for it.
Both. So it's always randomized, but there are cards that are like, search for a card, find the card you need, and put it into your hand. And then there are cards that are like, draw 3 cards, and then you can just dig. Or there's cards that are just creatures that you put on the battlefield that you use to swing at your opponent, that you use to attack your opponent to get their life total down. Or there's cards that are just like do 5 damage to your opponent.
Interesting. And what is your damage that you start out, or like you start out, I assume 100?
Depends on the format. So I play 100 cards, which means our life totals are at 40. But if you play 60 cards, usually your life total is at 20.
Gotcha.
There are formats that are at 30, and there's stuff that's at, like, there's variants, but usually it's either 20 or 40.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
There's a
Okay.
lot going on. Magic is
Now-
not an easy game to get into. The best way to start these days, just to learn the bare bones basics, is online.
Oh, wow. Like, are there like online magic rooms like there's online poker rooms?
Yeah.
And you and are people, is money involved in this? Are people gambling?
Not generally. I mean, I'm sure people do, but it's
But
not
they're
like
gambling on the
sanctioned
game itself.
anything.
Like I'll
It's
bet
not
you
a
$50 I
thing.
beat you.
I mean, maybe, but like that's kind of what you're doing with your deck, right? Like I've committed $80 to this deck or whatever, and maybe it'll beat yours or maybe it won't. I mean, you definitely, like, if you're playing in tournaments, there are prizes that you can get out of it. Usually they're just booster packs. Sometimes there's store credit, but you are like sometimes you're competing for cards. They'll give you like a $60 card if you win. And then if you're at the very top, like if you are like a professional Magic player, which exists, they just had a
It's
tournament.
like Fortnite.
They just had a tournament where the winner took home $100,000.
Jesus Christ. Wow. I mean, it's no Fortnite win, but that's still pretty fucking good.
Still pretty fucking
So when did Magic start?
mid-90s. I think it was 94, 96.
Got you. And what do you think makes a successful game? For example, why is Magic still around and in as high a power as it is, or popularity, and like Yu-Gi-Oh has stopped? And it might not have stopped.
Yu-Gi-Oh
Okay,
has
the
not
look, the look on your face was like, you're an idiot. You don't know.
Yu-Gi-Oh has never stopped.
Is it still as big as Magic is?
It is not as big as Magic is, because I think Magic has always kept it very simple and has kept it true to a core that it built in a very strong way. Wizards of the Coast also has D&D, so a lot of those things interlock. So that crossover is also helpful, I think. But
Gotcha.
Magic is built around 5 core colors that each do different things. And that's always been true since the day that it was printed to now. There's, of course, cards that are deviate from that a little bit, that are, mistakes or color pie breaks. But for the most part, blue does one thing, red does one thing, green
What do they
does
do?
one thing. Blue
Or is that
draws
harder to
cards.
explain?
I mean, you get a little bit more into it, but in general, blue draws cards, returns cards to your hand, and counters spells. So if you cast a spell, you can be like, nope, and that's a counter spell. That's what blue does for the most part.
Okay.
Red
Are you
is
mixing colors in the deck?
yes,
Okay.
often.
Okay.
You can do monocolored decks where it's all red, but most of the time it's going to be red green or white blue or any number of things.
Gotcha.
White is a little bit of a mess right now. They're figuring it out, but white gains life.
It's like the White Power Ranger. Like, no one knew what he did. He was a rebel the whole time. Long hair, his ear pierced. Looked like he
White's a
smoked
bit
weed.
of a mess. We're clear on what it does, like sort of lore wise. It's like soldiers and priests and the church and God, but it's like it gains life and it makes tokens, so it makes a lot of creatures. Green.
And white's been around from the beginning too. Like
Yeah.
none of these are new colors. Okay.
They've never added a color. There's colorless cards that have no color, and there's cards that have multiple colors. There's cards that, like, a green-blue card exists.
Okay.
There's cards with all 5 colors. Usually that means that card has an element of each color in it.
And those would be more powerful, therefore more expensive cards.
So you sometimes they're more expensive. They're tricky to cast, so it's because you need so many different lands to cast them.
Okay, wait, what do you mean lands?
The lands are how you like is they make the money that you use to spend on the spell. So like there are basic lands where it's like a forest makes green, an island makes blue, and in order to cast a spell that has all 5 colors in it, you need a forest, a mountain, a plains, a swamp, and an island, which can be tricky.
Okay, okay.
It's deep. It's a lot. There's a lot. And I've been playing not very long. I've been playing Magic for, I guess, almost 3 years. And that's nothing compared to most of the people that I play with. They've been playing, like, they played as a child. They've been playing their whole lives. There's people who've been playing since Magic started.
Yeah, no, I remember those kids, and it's weird. Like, Matt was saying that his deck now that he had when he was a kid would have been worth $30,000.
Yeah. And he probably sold it for, $1,000 or something.
That's nuts to me. Like what? Like I understand some cards are more powerful, but it's okay. It seems like those people that are buying those dolls that they don't take out of the fucking package, like
Sure.
that the pop doll or whatever it is.
Funko Pops, yeah.
Yeah, those things. That's what it seems like. Like it seems,
Yeah.
I waste my money on my car all the time.
So, like, when you start with any collection, when you start any hobby, you don't start at the buying $600 cards, right? You start with 60 pack cards that your friend had. Like, you start so small. Like when you got into cars, you didn't immediately buy a really nice car to fix up. You did a lot of research, you looked at pictures, you ease into it just like any other thing. And the more invested you become, the more these things appeal to you, right? So when I started, I was playing 60 cards that my friends, like, I pulled out of a friend's box. And they're just like chaff. We like, they're nothing, cards that are worth no money, but you shuffle them up and you play them. And yet, like, that's where Magic starts at its very core. And the more that you get into it, the more you invest. You buy sleeves, or you buy deck boxes, or you buy playmats, or you buy foils, or you buy special edition, whatever.
And the power, the weight that card carries. If you buy a foil print versus a regular ass one, the weight that the card carries in the game, like the spell it can cast, or what have you, is still it's the same.
It's the same,
right? So if you have $100 version of it that's in fucking silver, then that when you put that down, it does the same amount of damage as my same version of that printed normal.
That costs 5 cents. Yep.
So, so really, it's just people flexing.
Yeah.
What's it like being?
Sometimes you want the luxury item, like Spirit gets you there, but like you could also fly American.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Now, you're the only woman I know that plays Magic. Are you the only woman you know that plays Magic too?
No.
What would you say the ratio is of female to male Magic players?
So I play at the store regularly on Wednesday, and that's like a big sort of open casual night. And I say we've got 1, 2, 3 times, probably 60 players in there pretty regularly. Okay. And usually out of those 60 at our store, there are 3 to 5 women.
Are you friends with them, or do you have this like animosity towards each other where you're like, no, I wanted to be the only bitch in this room. You get out of my room.
Women are a lot less catty than people think they are. Usually,
I don't know. I've been around women before.
Okay. Well,
you're like, okay.
I like to try and make friends and be like, hi, hello, welcome to the store. You're welcome here, and we can hang out. Like, it can be, always a scary thing to walk into a place and the place is just dudes.
Sure.
So
I get scared about that
like having a
when I walk
like
into a place with
welcoming,
just dudes.
like the way I explain it is like, imagine if you walked into a classroom or if you walked into anything, like you walked into a gymnasium and that place was full of 60 women and 2 dudes.
Nice.
You'd be like, I have walked into the wrong meeting.
I'm in the wrong meeting, but I want to stay here.
Sure. But even then you're like,
Uh-oh. Yeah, what
like,
happened? Okay.
did I get the wrong invite? Like, what's happening? It's just you walk in and you're like, oh, I don't belong here. Something's wrong.
How do these dudes act around you? Do they act normal, or are they super weird around women because they're used to hanging out with dudes?
Depends on the dude. Most of them
Okay.
are great. Most of them are completely normal, and to my understanding, are just like totally fine and everything's good. There are definitely some guys at the store
there's
who
weirdos
are
everywhere.
fully terrified of me. Yeah.
Yeah, but you would say that it's more of a normal interaction than I'm giving it credit for.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think people pretend it's not what you think it is. Like the people that I play Magic with don't look how you're picturing them. Like it's a pretty diverse group. We've got a bunch of actors and camera guys. We've got like people like there's a bunch of black dudes at the store. There's a bunch of Asian dudes at the store. There's like a couple women. There's guys with tattoos and with like business jobs. There's a lawyer. Like there's a lot of different people play Magic, and they have a similar mindset, but
Right.
it's everybody's sort of come at it from a different way. Like there's people who have played this game since they were a child, and then there's people who like bumped into it ass backwards accidentally like me, where you're like, I don't know, I like it.
It seems like that's a pretty cool walking into that and seeing those different types of people like that has to really kind of feel I don't know, like that would feel kind of cool just to think that this game is bringing such different walks of life together. And they're like, I wouldn't like the business dude wouldn't hang out with a dude with face tattoos, but you're like, Magic? Fuck, you're cool, dude. Let's hang out.
Yeah.
You know, it's all right. So that's pretty. So it's a kind of a friendship thing.
Of course. I mean, so this Friday Night Magic thing is so incredible. It's such an amazing act of marketing that they have established basically like for 20 years.
The Wizards.
The Wizards, yeah.
That's the Wizards of the Coast or something?
But it's this thing that happens every Friday, and they have established Magic events that you can walk in with a deck and play in any city across the country. There's gonna be a dumb card store that has an FNM, a Friday Night Magic, that you can just drop in on. Like I could walk into any number of game stores. I could go to Seattle. I could go to Virginia. I could go to North Carolina and walk into a game store with a deck and be like, is there anyone here to play Commander? And I would have something in common with them immediately. It's like meeting a comic in a green room, you know? You have something to talk about.
Do you travel with your deck ever?
Oh my God, it's a nightmare. Yes.
Really?
Flying with Magic decks, you get stopped at the airport every time.
Why?
Because it's a solid brick that they just can't tell what it is.
Oh,
Like,
so then they open it up like, oh, you
on the
fucking
scanner
nerd.
as like this black solid box. We're like, is that just a bomb? Like, what is that? Like, I'll show you. Hang on one sec.
That's funny. It's like me traveling with my golf clubs. It's such an annoying thing to travel with, but I didn't realize that they were gonna take that shit that they have to pull you over every time. I mean, it makes sense. I'm glad they do.
I usually take them, like these days I take them out of my bag. And I'm like, look, it's nerdery.
Yeah, I can see how they're like,
yeah, so you can see it, like it's full of cards, and you can't. It just shows up black. But this is a deck box, and I have my cards sleeved. So
what does that mean?
They're in plastic sleeves.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Protected.
So
okay.
when I shuffle them, like they don't get all dinged up.
Are your sleeves color coded? Like I noticed those are red.
Sometimes. Like this is a red and black deck, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. So
What's your
usually
favorite deck to play with?
it depends on the day. I like this deck a lot, but I guess like my answer when I ask people when they ask what my favorite deck is, I say I have a Feldergriff deck, I have a green, white, blue, purple flying hippo deck. And it's sort of like the card is very old and strange and it would not exist in today's Magic, and I think it's really funny that this goofy ass card exists.
Why
So
wouldn't it exist in
deck.
normal Magic or in Magic today?
What would what? I'm sorry.
Why wouldn't why wouldn't it exist in Magic today?
It's not that it's too silly, it's that it just sort of doesn't seem to exist in any of the worlds that they're playing in right now. Like
Gotcha.
I believe that at some point they'll go back to this creature type just as like a throwback to this old weird card they used to have. But it's just it got a little bit more goof on it than the game tends to have these days.
I understand. Okay. Now, are you
Also,
building
the
a
art
deck?
is weird. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it. The art is like drawn by a child. It looks like it was stuck on somebody's refrigerator.
Show me some other art first before you show me the hippo art.
Okay.
And so are you saying that with these I forgot what I was gonna say. It was about the art something, but anyway. Are you building a deck based around certain key cards? Like if you're building a 52 card deck, right? Are
Yeah.
you like, okay, I need 10 critical cards and the other ones are built to support that one or those 10?
Usually. Yeah, that's a good way
Really?
to. Mostly, like a deck, especially in Commander, a deck is designed to do one thing, and there's some cards. So we call it a win condition. Like this is how your deck plans to win,
Right.
and then there are cards that help you get to that win condition. So, like if you're playing a control deck where your plan is to not let your opponent do anything, you have a lot of removal, you have a lot of counter spells, you have a lot of like tempo plays to push them back, and then you usually have one big splashy play at the end.
Okay. Kind of like a relationship deck, you know?
Sure. Control players are like a specific kind of Magic player. I don't fully understand them. I'd rather just like play a big dinosaur and go to town, you know? But
You're a commander player is what you like.
I play Commander, yeah. That's what I play Commander, and I play Dual Commander, which is a little bit different, but it's one-on-one and a multiplayer.
Okay, gotcha.
This is a card they printed pretty recently. This glare is
Okay.
a problem. But you can see the art is not like it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's
Uh-huh.
that's a little dockside extortionist. It's a
That looks
nice,
pretty cool. Like that art looks pretty
cool. The
yeah.
art Magic is some of the coolest stuff. So like this is a creature card. You can see it's a creature because he's got a little power and toughness down here. That's how big of a
Okay.
creature he is. And it's
So
a
1 out of 2, is that
creature.
big or small?
So he has a power of 1 and a toughness of 2. So he's pretty small, but like when he's attacking, he deals 1 damage, and it takes 2 damage to kill him.
Gotcha.
That's what it means.
That makes sense.
So
I want to come play Magic with you sometime.
you should come play with us. I'm telling you, it's really fun, and it's
We
like
settled Catan that one time.
I
And
love
you know,
Catan.
that was the
I'm a big game person. I think it's fun to sit down and like introduce a little bit of competition to like an evening. It gives it a little bit of drama, a little bit of like drive, and it's fun. It's fun to win, and you don't get to win
Okay.
very often as an adult, you know?
I guess that's true.
You know what I
guess
mean?
that's true.
Like
Yeah.
fun to be like, "Oh, I won today." Like I went to
Interesting.
the bank and I did laundry and I went to work and then I went to the store and I fucking kicked a guy's ass and it was great. Here, this is a spell. This is actually a pretty big deal spell. But this card is called this
Uh-oh,
is
big card alert, everybody. Big card alert.
this is
Oh, that's
Cyclonic
cool.
Rift.
Yeah.
And it's an instant, so it doesn't exist on the board. It's like a one-time use thing. And it can either return one permanent to its owner's hand, or it can return all the permanents.
What would determine if it's one or all? The type of
So
game?
it has a special kind of extra cost. It has an overload cost
Uh-huh.
that you can use. You can either pay it for its regular cost. So this is the blue mana, and one, it costs two mana to cast it, which is what the lands make, is mana.
Okay.
And then, or you could spend 7 mana on it and bounce the whole
Get
board.
everything back. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
So that's like an example of a one-time use spell. So that's like kind of a removal thing. Then these are all like my like money EDH cards
Your
that I
prized possessions.
They're not
Is
even.
your hippo in here?
It is. Do you want to see her?
Yeah.
She so Feldergrif is actually an anagram of Richard Garfield. It's like
Who's the creator?
Who's the creator? Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a little inside joke. And I want you to look at this art, because this art, I showed
Welcome,
you
new
the
viewers.
like pretty realistic, like cool looking art, and this is Feldergrif.
What the fuck is that? What? And how old is this card? Or like this was made back in when? Like in 96.
So this card is almost as old as I am.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
And so what does that thing do?
A bunch of things.
But no one really has this card or uses
Well,
it?
a few people have it, because it like they printed a number of them, and Feldergrif is kind of a meme card where everyone's like, ha ha ha, Feldergrif. But I built a pretty powerful Feldergrif deck, and it's sweet. But like she does a bunch of stuff, so you can pay 1 white and you can give her flying, and then target opponent gains 2 life. So like usually it's played as like a group hug commander, where like you help your opponents win is a style. I play mine as a combo deck, because I can get like 3 old cards together and infinitely kill the table.
Whoa, wow.
There's a lot of ways.
Fucking coming in like a goddamn coronavirus and just taking everybody out.
Just a hippo pandemic, baby.
So how much money would you say you've spent on your deck?
No, on one deck?
On your whole on what you got? Too much?
Terrifying. It's a terrifying question. I don't want to
definitely
know.
into more than 10,000? Oh boy. Okay.
I would say it's probably close to 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't have a particularly expensive collection, and I would say over the course of 3 years, it's quite possible. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not great.
Hey, I almost spent $5,000 on a fucking supercharger for my car through 3 days before the lockdown, and I was like, thank God I didn't do that.
For sure.
Holy Lord, that would have ruined me.
It's definitely a thing that you have to like keep a careful watch on your purse strings, because it's very easy to spend a lot of money, because you're like, okay, this card's $1, this card's $2, this card's $5, whatever. It's not like it's $5.
But then you add it all up, you're like, oh shit.
And you're like, oh, I spent $45 on pieces of cardboard this week.
And then 2 foils.
And yeah, I love a foil. I want to show you. Like, hang on. This is
now. You also make playing mats for these, right?
I do.
And is that just for to keep the cards pretty, or like not being dirty, or is it just more like flexing how cool you are type stuff?
It's part flexing how cool you are. It's part like building your board space to be like, this is the space I'm taking up. So it's partly like just marking your territory a little bit, like.
Yep.
And it's also in case the table's sticky or uneven, or like your cards don't get gross or whatever. It just sort
Smart.
of like protects your cards and protects the game because there's no specific board. It's kind of nice to lay out where the game is happening.
Okay, I hear that.
So this is an extended art card. See, because the art goes on
Oh,
the edges.
wow, that's almost like a Dave Clock card. So
Pretty.
so so that's a foil print right there.
This one that was not a foil. That's a matte
Oh,
card. I'm gonna show you my favorite foil that I got recently. Hang on. But I'm working on blinging this deck out a little bit. At least the cards that I like in there. This one, oh my god, look at this bad boy.
oh, wow. Grim Lavamancer?
Grim Lavamancer. He's a red human wizard,
That
and
thing's
he does
freaking
damage.
sweet looking.
Isn't he sweet? His eyes go too.
Oh
He's-
yeah. Oh, I see it. Yep.
It's very cool.
Damn. And you're getting these cards on. You're getting these on in person at stores, not online.
I try to get them in person.
Just to see what can.
Yeah, you can see the different, like you can see what the card looks like before you have it. But mostly I just like supporting the stores that I like, the ones that are near me or the one that I like to play at or the store that I work at. When I shop online, I try and use, like I buy from game stores around the country and have them ship them to me. Because I buy mostly singles, most of my money goes to small businesses around the country.
Mhm. Nice.
I do buy some sealed product, which is the money goes to Wizards. But for the most part, I do try and keep like spend it at my LGS.
Right.
Because that's
Local game store.
that's some nerd in Seattle's trying to keep his doors open. So
Right. Now, man, so what's the markup on these cards from, like, what are the game stores paying for these cards from the Wizards of the Coast versus what you're paying from the LGS?
So the Magic market is determined entirely by like supply and demand.
That
Wizards
sounds like
have
a male strip show.
like buying singles is determined once it leaves the packaging. Wizards has no control over the cost.
Oh,
They can reprint stuff to make stuff cheaper, but it's all supply and demand after that.
wow.
Because and then it goes into like a secondary Magic market where you can buy and sell used cards essentially.
So
to buy
LGS,
whatever.
so the local game store doesn't know what's in the sealed packaging.
No. They sell.
Gotcha.
They usually sell sealed product directly to the customer, and the customer either sells singles back that they don't want, or that's where the most of the singles that a store has come from players.
And that's why you have thousands of cards that you don't use
Yeah.
because you're just
I
buying.
can sell, like I'll sell them and I'll buy them from the store, or I'll put them in a deck, or I'll take a deck apart.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it all is sort of in flux. There's a whole Magic finance market that's like this card, they'll see a card that's printed and it's at one value and they're like, this card's value is going to go up, and they'll invest in a whole bunch of those cards and then sell them once it hits a higher price.
How long is the average duration of a Magic game?
Depends on the format.
Okay.
So
Commander.
like whether you're playing, like if you're playing multiplayer like I play, it could be anywhere from half hour to 2.5 hours.
Jesus Christ.
If you're playing a dual game, it's usually like ends by 30 minutes.
Okay, gotcha.
So
And that's
more
one-on-one.
players, higher life totals, longer game. But like when
Gotcha.
I'm playing multiplayer, I'm sitting down for the game. Like I'm there to chat with my friends and to like do
Oh,
splash.
so you're in that one game the entire night. Like for the Friday Night Magic, you're probably, if you're playing in multiplayer, that's probably the group you're going to be with for the evening.
Usually I'll play like 3 games. I'll get there at 7, I'll leave at 11, and I'll get in roughly 3 games.
Okay, gotcha.
If I'm playing Dual Commander, I'll get in more because I'm only playing to 20 life, and it's just 2 board states to keep track of. Everything just moves faster.
Wow.
So it
How do you
depends.
make how do you make money at this playing professionally?
You get really good at it.
Is it getting good at it, or is it buying enough cards? Is it a skill, or is it
It's
just money?
absolutely a skill. It has a lot of the same skill, like it has a lot of the same thought processes as something like chess, or like it's a combination of chess and poker, right? So you have to see down the line like what your opponent might do, how to intercept that, how to prepare and set up your own board state to best compete against theirs.
Mm-hmm.
But also
Mm-hmm.
there's an element of like trickery and like bluffing and knowing when it's important to go for it. So I think that's probably the best way.
Do you typically have an idea of what kind of cards your opponent has if you don't know who they are? Do you typically have an idea of what the opponent might be doing?
Usually, like when I'm
Okay.
playing multiplayer, somebody will set out their commander, and I'll know what he does, so I'll likely know what's in that
How
deck.
they built their
Roughly,
deck around it. Gotcha.
roughly.
Okay.
When you're playing 60 card, like if you're playing standard, you have to guess a little bit more because you're only seeing cards as they roll out. So you're like, okay, he played an island, which means he's probably playing this deck or this deck. Okay, played a plains. Well, that means he's probably playing this deck. And then you have
Interesting.
to adjust. Usually, when you're playing dual commander, you're playing multiple games. So you're playing like in a set of 3.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Uh,
It's a lot of
interesting.
knowledge. It's a lot of research. You have to like you have to know the decks that people are playing. So you're like, okay, I know that mono blue devotion is a big deal right now. I need to know how my deck fares against mono blue devotion and what I need to do to beat that deck. Or what about like I'm playing against Gruul aggro? Okay, I know that this card is a real problem for me, so I need to hold my removal for that card later.
Wow. I
It's
got
very
completely
complicated.
lost throughout all of that.
Yeah, I kind of pedaled like started using a little bit more actual lingo. Like
Oh
like
man.
this deck is just mono red aggro where you're like I it's meant to go as fast as possible to just burn them down to 0. And then but if I'm playing against a control deck, I know I need to be a little bit more careful about when I race based on what cards they've played.
Because you don't want to lay out the big ones too soon.
Yeah. Well, and I know
Gotcha.
like if I think they have removal or I think they have a counter spell, I need to be careful about when I play stuff. So it's it's a very complicated game and there's a lot of different ways to get into it, but there's also you can play Magic at its most basic where you're playing like I'm playing green, I'm playing a creature, attacking with a creature.
It seems like there's a lot of ways to get into it, not a lot of ways to get out of it.
That's exactly how they want it.
It's just like comedy.
Yeah.
A lot of ways to get into it, not a lot of
There's
ways to get
no
out.
way. The only way out is financial ruin.
Right? You either kill yourself or kill your fucking you kill your career, your name,
Or your
your credit.
marital partner is like, look, it's me or the game.
Yeah, right. Uh, well, all right. Good transition there on accident because I do want to talk about this. This magic stuff has filled my brain up enough. And you
Yeah,
just said marriage partner,
yeah.
which The Bachelor is as a television program on the American Broadcasting Corporation. And you okay. Let's shift gears real quick, everybody.
Okay.
Um, fast as possible. Oh, yeah,
We were talking about my mono red deck.
yeah. How
It'd be
fast is the game? As fast as you can. So you're part of a comedy group
yeah,
called the Pussy Brothers,
yes.
which is a fantastic name for a group of women.
Yep,
And
Christy Buckley named us the Pussy Bros a few years ago. I guess it's been, gosh, 4 years.
that's quite a while.
Yeah.
And for our fans up there, um, hang on, I'm doing art right now, and I struggle to do both in spelling. So what would you say the Pussy Brothers as a group is? Is it? Yeah.
So Denver, I feel like specifically does this. I don't know a lot of scenes that do the same thing, but the comedy group is sort of a thing that runs in Denver's history, right?
Right.
It's a group of performers who usually produce shows together, make content, encourage each other to grow and write, and it's just a friend group that you sort of link to more professionalism.
Right.
The reason that we became a group was because there really wasn't any women in groups, and we all were interested in taking stand up seriously and trying to push each other as hard as we could to make this our job and make sure that we're writing and working and producing at the highest level and performing at the highest level, and really using each other as assets to further our careers.
Smart.
And that was sort of the initial goal with Pussy Bros. And we were a group of 4 women when we started. It was me, Janae Burris, Christy Buckley, and Jordan Waliba, who I mentioned at the beginning, who has passed.
Yep.
But
Jordan did the first art for my show Infomation. She was really good at art.
she's the best.
Yeah.
Missed sorely, and was arguably one of the hardest working comics in Denver at the time. She was producing all the time,
Yeah,
was
she
writing
really
all the
was.
time. She had an album out at insanely early, and everyone was like, well, "What are you doing making an album?" And then she passed, and thank God she did.
Thank God she did, for real.
Really incredible album. Everybody should look it up. It's called Estro Gentrification. Jordan is a out trans performer and is really incredible. So it's worth giving it a Google. Jordan Waliba, Welieba.
I'll put that
Yeah.
in here. Weliba, right?
IEBA. Yep.
Welieba. Cool.
Yeah.
Jordan Waliba. Perfect. Now, so y'all been around for 4 years. I know. Did I spell it wrong?
No, I think maybe I did. I'm not sure. That's close. They'll find it. It's called Estro Gentrification.
Google will figure that shit out for sure.
Yep, I believe
y'all have gotten, so it seems like because of this kind of unique take on the comedy group, or to pair up in that situation, you guys have had a lot of fun random experiences and random opportunities, like teaching the Bachelor how to do stand-up comedy.
Yeah, we taught.
Okay. Yeah, so how did that come about, and what was it like? What was it like? What were you doing? And were you did you pursue it?
No, we did an article in a Denver newspaper that they were just wanted to talk about the women who do comedy in Denver. And so we got interviewed along with Mara Wiles and Timmy Lasley, all great female comics who have been working for a while in Denver, excuse me. And they were coming through Denver. Why can't I think of his name? Oh no. It was the Indiana Bachelor, Ben Higgins. I got there. All right. I think that's it.
He must have had a nice impression on you.
I know. I feel bad. He's the sweetest boy. But he lives in Denver, and they were teaching him different things. He did like a ballroom dancing class. He did like a number of different skill classes that he was taught by women. And they came to us with an email. They emailed the Pussy Bros email account and were like, "Hey, do you want to teach Ben Higgins how to do stand-up?" And we were like, this is the most specific fishing scandal, like a fishing expedition. You know what I mean? Fishing scam.
Yes.
There we go.
PH.
PH.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been quarantined too long. We were like, what? And we emailed her back because she was like, this is for a show called First Look, and it's on after SNL. And we're like, oh, glamorous. And
Ooh, the show that no one already watches live. We get to
like,
be on
"Cool,
after it. Hell
after
yeah!
wow, everybody
Prime
wants to see us
time.
after a midnight show, or an 11 p.m. show or whatever it was. But they came into town and he was the sweetest and genuinely wanted to learn from us and wanted to he wrote his own material. He came with
Oh wow.
he came with a set, which we asked him to do, is write jokes that were honest to him. And then we did a couple different, we sat down and punched up his act a little bit and gave him a couple tips on delivery and basic move the mic stand, stop pacing.
Yep.
You could do a little act out here that would be very funny. You should do this in a slightly different order was a big thing, a big adjustment we made where we're maybe do this at the end. The Bachelor stuff should be towards the beginning because that's what people are excited about. And
right.
So just basic structural stuff that we could help him be as successful as possible on his first set.
Right.
And he had a 5-minute set at Comedy Works, which is a dream place to do your first set.
It really is. It was
downtown, and it was a sold out show because they had advertised that Ben was doing it. So we had a big crowd of women, and Christy, Janae, and I all did a set, and we smashed. It was so much fun to perform to that many women. Just
it's not often you get a full crowd of women in Minver.
Oh gosh,
there's a lot of dudes
incredible.
out
there. In a space that's already so perfect for stand up to just build our perfect audience, and then it was amazing. It was so much fun. And then he did his 5 minutes, and he did such a good job. We brought in Deacon to help him. Speaking of people who have passed away,
right? Comedy's hard, everybody.
to help punch up because he's so good at just
oh yeah,
that with that kind of stuff. And he gave Ben a joke that Ben could not figure out how to deliver, and we're it's a very simple joke. You just have to say it like a joke, and then it sounds like a joke. And he just couldn't do it. But the joke was, it was something thank you. I just want to say a quick thank you to Comedy Works for giving me 5 minutes on this stage, considering I've already had my 15 minutes.
15 minutes? Yeah, that's great. That's a very Deacon joke.
Very Deacon joke. It's easy, just a perfect way to open a set. And he could not figure it out because he wouldn't say of fame. He just fumbled it so hard. So the way his set started was so awkward. Oh no!
Oh god damn, that's fucking great.
I just want to say thank you to Comedy Works for giving me a few minutes up here, considering I've already had 15 minutes. And we're nope, not quite, but good.
Oh god. So was it weird doing comedy with a TV crew there? This was your first TV, real TV experience, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, that's the only film stand-up experience I have.
Does it make you...
It was a very small crew. They had 2 cameras. There was one in the crowd and one that was on the wings that did close-ups. And we all had 45 seconds of our set showed up in the First Look thing. I've been told it's in taxi cabs in New York. My friend texted me and said that she was watching me in a doctor's office. It's cool. We've made it.
Did you have to be clean? Did they have to vet your set before you did it?
No, but I think we did. We kept it pretty clean, and we wanted to keep the jokes really tight because we knew it was going to be a short clip.
Sure.
So you didn't want to do anything that was like too rambly or too dark because we knew they
Right.
were going to cut like a very small part of it.
Right.
So
Oh.
so we definitely did like a tweaked set, but we all did 3 minutes, I think.
And overall, you would say big success.
It was so much fun. It
That's
was
cool.
it was so funny that we got brought in to like teach a famous white guy how to do stand up. Like Janae was like, "Of course, the only way it's on TV is because there's a famous, cute white guy here."
Oh God.
Like the only way we can get women to show up to stand up is if we bring in a bachelor. But it was
Oh
so
my God, I
fun.
would have loved to be in the room when it's just the three of you at the beginning of this,
Oh,
with
it's
her just
funny.
fucking steaming over it. God
It was
damn,
so
because you
fun.
know that's
And
what
he
she
was,
wanted.
like, so genuinely excited to learn and like was like studious. It was very cool. It was such a sweet experience.
Oh God, that's funny. Wow.
It was
Wow.
very cool. It was definitely the most like high caliber thing I've done in stand up, and it was great.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to the next time you get to be on TV for something
Yeah.
silly like that. You know, you get to teach me how to do comedy still.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, why don't we come over and write?
Rally the troops and we'll yell at you from the audience.
You've got like a buzzer just there for any time I say something inappropriate. Nope. Well, Rachel, thank you for joining me today for this conversation. I'm so excited to learn more about Magic. I'm gonna go play Magic, and maybe we'll do a follow-up episode, and you can make fun of how horrible I was.
It's really hard to learn. It's hard to be bad until you know how to play. Honestly, the thing about Magic that everybody says is everybody's bad at Magic. Like that's the joke we're always making is you're like, God, I can't believe I messed that up. I've played this deck 100 times, and you're like, everybody's bad at Magic. It's too hard.
Quite a game that these Wizards of the West Coast have fucking created there. Now, if people want to find you, you actually run currently not because we're in quarantine, but you run a comedy show at a game store.
I do. So Matt Monroe and I run a show at Turn Zero Games in Koreatown in Los Angeles. It's called LGS Comedy, and that's on the first Saturdays. We're not sure, obviously, when we're starting back up again.
I get that. God,
yep.
This whole time I was like, why is it LGS Comedy?
Like,
this doesn't make any fucking sense.
Our local game store comedy show. Honestly, LGS Comedy Show is probably better, but it's LGS Comedy.
But,
so I do
whatever.
that.
I just run 3 weekly shows.
If you play Magic, specifically if you play Commander, I run a podcast with Dan Sheehan, who's a comic out of Chicago. That's called the Commander Sphere, and that's a comedy Magic podcast that's been so much fun, and it's doing really well. We're extremely excited about it. I'm also streaming with a group of women. We play multiplayer EDH, and that's called Sarah's Angels.
Okay. What is EDH?
That is the old term for Commander.
Oh, I thought it was like electronic dance hippie music.
It stands for Elder Dragon Highlander.
Okay. That's what Commander is you're using Elders, Dragons, and Highlander.
Elder Dragon.
Okay.
Yeah. And I for some reason, that's what I say. But the world knows it better as Commander.
Okay. Now, this podcast you have, comedy and magic, those two things I never thought went together. What is what are y'all talking about?
We talk about all sorts of different stuff. We talk about most of it is just games that we played and funny stuff that happened. But we will talk about characters that exist in the world. We'll talk about.
It is inside baseball magic.
It's fully inside baseball. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I have a number of friends who love and support me and have subscribed to the podcast. Do not understand a word we're saying, but they're so wonderful. I love them so much. My mom
And
is
what's
like,
the
I'm a patron now. I'm like, you're the best.
Oh, and what's the name of the show again?
It's called the Commander Sphere,
The
and
Commander
that's a
Sphere.
card. Yeah.
Okay. And that's, I assume, on all the podcasts. Well,
That's on all the podcast things. On Twitter, we're at Command Sphere, and I'm at Rachel Reeks, just to make it confusing. But
Yep.
it says it in the thing. It's got my initials flipped, and that's got the links to all the things that I do. So to the Sarah's Angel stream and the Commander Sphere podcast, and to Comedy Works and Pussy Bros and all the things you could possibly want to consume.
Hell yeah. Well, Rachel, fascinating little world you live in, you know?
Yeah, it's been
Uh,
a bit of a turn from religious gal to sorority gal to comedian, and now magic
Now a
content.
commander of the now a fucking wizard master.
Yeah,
Um,
Wizard Master is the title I'm going for. I only have to
Wizard
spend
commander.
$30,000 more, and I'll be a wizard.
Well, that's what I do like, is that you don't necessarily have to be rich to win. You can
No.
you can
You
win
can be
without.
very good at the game.
Yeah.
We play with this kid who's not a rich kid and is wildly talented. He just knows, you can just see further down the line than a lot of people can.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and it's Wednesdays you play live.
We play Wednesdays at the store, and that's just at Turn Zero Games. We just go and hang out, and people
Do they
bring
hate it when people like me come in to like observe and watch and not play?
you've got a
Are
bunch
you
of
sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
come hang out with us. Matt
I want
would
to
be
see
the
how it
worst
works.
teacher ever, but we're happy to teach you.
Oh, Matt's gonna just call me an idiot the whole time. He's like, "No, what are you doing? Why are you putting? No, you don't put that card down now. You're supposed to put one of these down."
Oh,
I
it's
don't
that
know.
Philadelphia patience.
Everyone loves a solid East Coast fucking patience guy. He's historically known for a long wick. So, well, thank you for joining in. I look forward to playing with you on a Wednesday sometime.
Yeah.
And you know, this was a pretty good fucking conversation. We made it. This is quite a long.
It
This
was
was
a long one.
a 2.5 hour one, but I'm telling you, I love learning shit about stuff I know nothing about. Like, I know nothing about magic, and it's just so much money is involved with it, and so many people seem to be playing it, and so much, like, there's such a culture around it. It's like, how do I not know about this? You know, Pogs didn't make it, but
No?
fucking Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh did.
Yeah. Pokemon.
Why don't you play Yu-Gi-Oh?
Too.
Why don't you play Yu-Gi-Oh?
I just didn't get back into it. The cards are not the community is not quite as big, but we definitely have a number of dedicated Yu-Gi-Oh players that are still committed to the game. My guess is a lot of them have been playing since they were kids.
That makes sense.
Generally, the Yu-Gi-Oh audience is a little bit younger.
Okay.
They're like 20-year-old dudes for the most part.
Those 20-year-olds, those are your favorites, aren't they?
I mean, I don't need to hang out with 20-year-old dudes anymore.
I don't need to hang out with 20-year-old women. They're the worst. Just give me
They haven't
someone who's
figured it out yet.
no.
Crazy. Once you get older.
Oh man. All right. Well, Rachel, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Hey.
We're gonna wrap this up, and
Thanks a lot.
Rachel
Fun.
Reeks on Instagram.
On Twitter and Instagram.
That's perfect. I'm so glad you did that. Well, I appreciate you coming in, and we will see you next time.
Definitely.
I'm gonna do a quarantine bong rip here.
Ooh.
All right, Rachel. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right.
All right, bye-bye. All right, everybody. That was Miss Rachel Weeks right there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Rachel, for joining us and teaching us about magic, the gathering, not the dark art form. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel or follow me here. I'm going to try to do these every single day of the quarantine, every single weekday of the quarantine to keep some rhythm in your life. Because time is not real. So we'll see you guys next time. Quick bong rip for the way out. I got to start some music up. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.